This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports, Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails, NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment.
Show up here locally in the community. Make sure y'all go check out Meat Cat Body by Jeremy Campbell.
Good afternoon. It is a great day to talk about yesterday because, hey, the Lions won. The Packers beat the Texans. Both those games looked like they should have been primetime games. Everything came down to a game-winning field goal in both games. But I'm here to talk more about the Detroit Lions game. I am going to talk specifically about the game. I am not going to sit here and talk about who we should trade for, whether there's going to be a trade or not, because we don't know what they're doing. And I'll leave it at that. So don't even bring it up. I'm done with it. But I have my studs of the game. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 carries, 116 yards, 7.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He also had 4 receptions for 44 yards with 11 yards per catch. Jared Goff, 22 of 25, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. We are the number one in the NFC seed right now, 100%, because we beat the only undefeated teams that were in the NFL. We are the undefeated team killers. You might even say we're number one in the NFL, but Kansas City is undefeated because the 49ers are bitch made. Brandon Ayuk will miss the rest of the season. ACL. That being said, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 receptions, 112 yards, 14 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. Khalif Raymond, 3 catches, 39 yards, 13 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. You cannot understate Jake Bates and what he's doing right now because he was perfect. He accounted for 7 of our points. On defense, I have 4 stars and 1 honorable mention. Malcolm Rodriguez, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, and Josh Pascal. Skull for Life, 1808. Good game, y'all. Thank you very much, sir. And my honorable mention on defense is Trevor Nowoski and Jack Fox being the field flipper he was. Yes, I've been saying if this guy gets a chance to play, he'd be a stud. I know it was a horrible play, but you know what? That makes us 3 of 5 in those situations where we're doing it in a bad spot. We've gotten 3 of them and we've lost 2. And everybody wants to focus on the bad part. But the fact that Dan Campbell stays true to his nature and does that stuff. My 3 duds of the game. Number 1, Coyote Awasika. He had more penalties than almost everybody else on the roster. Geezer Bowl results in epic fashion. Russell overpaid Trash Wilson defeats Where's My Butt Buddy, Old Man Crybaby, discount double jack my ass into the old folks home, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, that's great. And Jack Fox. Both Jake Bates and Jack Fox, they're my special teams players of the game. Jack Jack Fox was great. I have been saying it for a year. My other 2 duds, David Montgomery for the fumble. You can say what you want, but that was bad because it was returned for a touchdown. And yes, but at the same time, going for it when you're 0-0 doesn't hurt you as much as if you go for it late in the game where it could change the game. That David Montgomery fumble changed that game. It put them in the lead. So we had to play differently. And my biggest bum of the game, James Houston. Yes, Terrion Arnold was out of position as the corner. He's supposed to set the edge. Because Coyote Awasika is a left guard. We started him at right guard. He doesn't play right guard. We had to put Sorsdal in at right guard to have anything that looked like an O-line at all that year. But everybody forgets that. They played him out of position. You almost would have been better off leaving Awasika at left guard and rotating Graham Glasgow to right guard because he plays the same on both sides of the center. Yes. Do you guys agree with my studs and duds? I had 9 studs and 3 duds. Sam Darnold had too much Aktua. Haha, that's funny. I know that's supposedly who he's dating. I haven't seen her count. I haven't seen her say that's who she's dating. Uh, the problem is in the rule, even though the ball was starting to squirt out, it was still attached to the runner when his foot hit the sideline. Thus, that makes it if he's touching the ball and he steps out, it's Minnesota ball. That is the letter of the rule. So I'm gonna say exactly what the letter of the rule is on that. I'm sorry, and I agreed it should have been overturned. And I also agree on that wasn't a fumble on Tim Patrick because his shoulder and elbow did hit the ground before he wrestled the ball out. So, you know, that call goes both ways because Vikings fans are saying, "Oh, that 100% was a fumble." But if your elbow, then your shoulder hits the ground, then the ball comes out, that's not a fumble. You're down by contact. I just want to reiterate. Can I explain the 10-second runoff? If the clock is stopped in the 2-minute warning, there is no 10-second runoff. But if a team has no timeout and commits a penalty and it gets called, there's a 10-second runoff. There was a penalty that wasn't called that would have ended the game immediately. We never would have saw Minnesota take the field. Dallas Turner put both hands on the center and the guard. Uh, Yeah, Decker didn't have his best game for sure, but it wasn't his worst game either. It was just an average game for Decker if you understand what I'm saying. But that was when David Montgomery fumbled and Ivan Pace picked it up. And it 100% was a fumble. David Montgomery was beside himself. And they were going for the 2-point conversion and we stopped it. Yep, another missed call. But at the same time, it didn't influence the end of the game because we made the stops we needed when their offense came out. But that would have moved the ball even closer to the field goal. And I like Jake Bates back there around 30 plus. We've seen him miss those close ones. No, it can be on either team that does not have a timeout. If both teams do not have a timeout, doesn't matter who gets the penalty. If the clock is running at the time of the penalty, there's supposed to be a runoff. If it's a dead ball foul, there's no runoff. Does that make sense how I'm wording it? Because I had to look it up. If the clock is dead and it's a foul, there's no runoff. But if there's a scoring review, any type of review done, and a team doesn't have the timeout, I don't know why you don't like Arnold. Arnold had a great game. Yeah, pace was. Dan Leonard called it. He's a dirty player. You look, the way he plays, it's a little bit on the dirty side. He likes to hit too hard and reckless abandon type of stuff. It was one play, Tim Colburn. But at the same time, while we're sitting here griping about Terrion Arnold on that play, how come nobody's calling out James Houston for being washed out of the play because he doesn't have a first step? He doesn't. He, we don't have anybody better than Terrion Arnold to go there right now. You want to talk about a guy that got cooked? Every time Justin Jefferson had a deep pass, it was on Amik Robertson. He was cooked yesterday. He wasn't in position. He was beat. But at the same time, I want to talk about James Houston. James Houston was the left defensive end when the left tackle pancaked him. He never even got out of his steps. The linebacker came up and he was trying to come in, and the not Aaron Jones, but the other guy, the fullback, took him out. Right, but we had timeouts on the board. I think we still had one. Yep. Yeah. James Houston is not the same guy, and I've said that. He's washed, guys. He was pancaked. Now, if it was the Houston of old, like from the rookie year, pre-injury, he would have had the bend to get under that guy. That guy just grabbed him up at his shoulders. He was too upright. He didn't have any bend, and he just shoved him down. You cannot do that to block a field goal. It is a penalty whether you get the block or not. That's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. I think Nowaski is going to be replacing Barnes. He doesn't do as good at the defensive end because of his lack of size. He's a much better Sam linebacker. He's an outside linebacker. That is where they used him with Arizona. That's because they preached it into him during the bye week, just like I said they would. But let's talk about this run that Jared Goff has done. Good morning, JB. Great win yesterday. Bear down. Thank you, Matt. But let's look at these stats for Jared Goff. In any four-game span in NFL history, Lions quarterback Jared Goff is the only player to complete 80% of his passes and posting a passer rating of 140 plus. In each of his last four games, he's posted at least two touchdowns and a 72% completion rate and a 110 passer rating. So I would rather Nowaski be. It should be called 100%. Pascal, it looked like he caught a couple stingers. And I'm going to say one thing. It's yeah, it, it is what it is. That's beyond MVP stats, guys. It's never been done in NFL history. So after we win yesterday, guess what? Still Kings of the North. Suck it. Goff is playing at an MVP level, though. So Jared Goff played a poor Super Bowl, got dumped by McVay and sent to football Siberia, then watched Stafford immediately win a ring with his old team. He's now playing the best ball in the league for one of the best teams, and is one of the most respected players in the NFL. Amazing. How about Love's 8 interceptions this year? Yeah, but Packers don't want to admit that that's bad. It, it it's more than that. There's a specific play where I'm going to talk about the intelligence of Jared Goff in particular. It's always Frank Ragnow that sends out the line protections when Goff recognizes who's the Mike, who's blitzing, and who's not. Let's get that plain and clear. If Ragnow's out, that doesn't happen as much. But there was a play where they were showing zero blitz. Harrison Smith and Josh Metellus were up on the line. Bynum was the only guy back there. And he motioned, he called an audible, checked down into that zero blitz beater, putting Amon Ra on the go route, and having Tim Patrick come across and then hike the ball just as he gets to Harrison Smith to make the block on the key side, which put Amon Ra out there on an island versus Bynum. That was a brilliant, genius play. You cannot understate how big that was. And what did I say about Blake Cashman being out? And I'm not making a excuse for Minnesota. I said with Blake Cashman out, who was their best tackler in the run game, not the best run defender, best tackler in the run game, would be huge for Minnesota. Where Gibbs ran through at that 46-yard touchdown is right where Blake Cashman would have been. So don't think that wasn't huge and a benefit to us. I also said Minnesota's defense, even though it's been great, hadn't faced an offensive running game like our tandem in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And if one failed, the other would succeed. I said that. Sonic and Knuckles did what they had to do. But 9 carries, 31 yards, 3.4 yards per carry, and a fumble loss, and a huge fumble. It changed the complexion of the game. Love Love is having an okay season. Let's talk it. Let's just put it that way. ARSB slot merchant my ass, laughing my fucking ass off. I'll tell you, Sonic is so fast that juke he made was on him. Awesome. You know, and I'm going to sit that. You say it made him look better than he did, but we got him to do something he normally doesn't do with that little bit of pressure we had, Jim. We got him to throw a pick. He had 11 touchdowns and only 4 picks coming into this game. We didn't allow him to take it over. And let's go right to those stats right now. So the tail of the tape says this game was really fucking close. A lot closer than any of us thought it would be. I said it was going to be a dogfight to the end. And whoever had the ball last would kick a winning field goal. I said that prior to the game. I was off on my score. I said 27-24. But 391 total yards. They had 383. We had 247 passing yards. They had 244. 144 rushing yards. They had 139. 7 yards per play for us, 7.4 yards per play for them. 19 first downs for us, 16 for them. 4 of 10 for both teams on efficiency. 0 for 1 on our fourth down. They didn't go for one. 56 total plays of offense for our offense and 52 total plays for their offense. Both teams allowed 4 sacks. And I'm going to get to that because I'm going to tell you why it worked. 4 punts for us, 3 punts for them. 8 penalties for each team. 49 yards for us, 59 yards for them. 1 fumble loss for us, 1 interception thrown for them. They had the time of possession factor. And that was because of the first half. 30.57 to our 29-03. That is probably the most even game we've seen in the NFL in a long time. And yes, that was a great read by Branch. And it was a poor decision by Darnold. Yeah, my favorite completion was the near strip stat. Goff looked like Mr. Cool the whole play. And yet, yes, we have to. I said that we were going to have to do this, guys. I said, you're going to see more linebacker sacks. Guess what? 3 linebackers had sacks: Malcolm Rodriguez, Jack Campbell, and Trevor Nowoski. The only lineman that had a sack was Pascal. What I was disappointed in, and I'm going to call it out right now, Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader did nothing versus Ed Ingram. They didn't get into the backfield. They weren't causing pressure. But number one in the league right now, after going 16 of 17 with pressure in his face, is Jared Goff. He is completing passes at an 84.7% rate under pressure, and they never backed off the pressure. Tim Patrick is an honorable mention too. He had a decent game. Um, every key catch he had was key, and that was not a fumble because his elbow and shoulder hit the ground. Even Greg Olson called it out on the replay when they watched it. They said, "Yeah, look, the ball's still in his hand, and he's down. It isn't out yet, so therefore he has control of the ball. That's not a fumble. They made the right call." And yes, he was glorifying Flores. He was glorifying KOC. But you know what? At the same time, he had great things to say about Detroit. Just nobody likes to hear somebody talking about the other team. But we saw that the unstoppable force beat the immovable object this week. Everybody said, "Oh, we're not going to run on the Vikings." We ran on each other, guys. And that is where we missed Hutchinson on the defensive end. I'm going to say it right now. I don't know. He looked like he came up a little bit limp after that 25-yard catch he had, but mostly teams are bracketing him. They're keeping a linebacker underneath and a safety over the top, which is not a good plan with the guy that just came off of a hammy strain over the off season. So I think it's still bothering him because it looked like it bothered him a little bit when he got up slow after he made that 25-yard catch. But I'll tell you what, he's doing great with the blocking, and I'm happy with that. And Jameson Williams, yes, he had a catch for negative yards because they sniffed it out. They are one of the best teams versus the wide receiver screen. I can't fault him for that. That was a great play. But at the same time, you know where JMO was a plus? The same place where Tim Patrick was a plus. It was blocking downfield. Of course, we were going to defend that containing the trick play Minnesota had. That's our trick play. Toss it to do a jet sweep to Justin Jefferson, then have him try to throw it to Sam Darnold. We had Sam Darnold blanketed. He had nowhere to go, so he started to try to run in it. That was the sack by Jan Campbell, no less, guys. So the sack by Jack Campbell wasn't even on a QB. It was on Justin Jefferson because he was playing as a QB. Think about that. No, and don't forget he was banged up in the first half. So I think that was a huge reason why they didn't use him as much, and the success of Gibbs. You cannot say and understate what Gibbs did this game. That was amazing. 160 yards of offense, receiving and rushing combined. I'm quite sure after tonight's games that are played, we're probably going to be number 1 or 2 in the NFL power rankings overall. We're number 1 in the NFC. Yes, it was a dogfight, and I called it. I I pretty much said I really don't want to say a winner. I think whoever has the ball last and kicks a field goal wins. But for the fifth week in a row, I have to say something that I've done, and it's on accident. Now it's working with offensive players too. I wore my Gibbs jersey yesterday for the game, and he was my player of the game. My three players of the game offensively was Jameer Gibbs, Goff, and then of course Jake Bates. Amon Ra. Everybody else is an honorable mention. It was great what they did. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not poo-pooing it. But those were my three stars on the offense. On the defensive side, Brian Branch at the top. I have it as a toss-up between Malcolm Rodriguez and Josh Pascal. But my honorable mentions are Jack Fox and Trevor Nowaski. Because without Jack Fox flipping the field and making them go long drives and not getting there, it was huge. But it was a hell of a game. I mean, this was a game for the ages. And let's not undertake what Green Bay was able to do to Houston. They held CJ Stroud to 80 yards. The Gibbs was not just good. I'm sorry. He had 7.7 yards per carry. That's very esque. I'm saying 116 yards and 7.7 yards per carry, and then four receptions for 44 yards, including the key one to get that first down to set up the other one to St. Brown to get the field goal. Casey probably will still be number one after whooping San Francisco again, but we are coming for them. Go Lions. 100%. I'm saying Jared Goff is playing at a Super Bowl level this year. So right now, I want to talk about this man because we had an update from the family. I'm going to read it verbatim exactly what they said in their post off of Instagram. Thank you for all the beautiful messages. Aiden came home Tuesday as the healing process has started. He will be good as new, most likely even better. All the love and support that has been poured in takes our breath away. No words can cover the blessings that have the team, the coaches, our staff, our city, our state, and a whole lot of our country behind Aiden's healing. Thank you from the very bottom of our hearts for all the texts, phone calls, and videos. He is sending all the love back to you. Pat Rothwell, James Houston is spent, does not have the bend or the speed anymore since his injury. Time to move on. 100%.
Nice.
That is 100%. I've been saying it since camp. I've said it. I said he never should have made the damn roster. It should have been either Uku or Betts on the roster and the other one in Houston on the practice squad the entire time. There's something not right. He needs to heal. He needs to shed weight. He's heavier than he used to be, which is affecting his bend. Patrick is doing the dirty work and blocking great. He's a great guy for sure. 100%. I swear his hands are great and his legs are made out of more scar tissue than actual muscle, but man is he good at what he does. I cannot stress this. He is becoming a better version of what Josh Reynolds was to begin the season last year. Hutch posted a video on his Facebook page, House of Hutch. He's doing well. Yeah, I follow it on Instagram. That's where I get all this stuff from, Fred. But it's amazing. And do you guys realize if the season started today and there's one addendum to it, if the season ended today, all four NFC North division teams would be in the playoffs. The only difference is this list was made prior to Washington Commanders beating the NFL bye week and the Panthers. So they will be at 2, while Tampa Bay, they have to win tonight versus the Ravens to get back to the 2 spot. But how amazing is that? All four NFC North teams would be in the playoffs right now, and we would be sitting in the catbird seat waiting for whoever won between probably the Commanders and Bears. But if the Bucks win, it'll be the Bucks and Bears. and we'd be sitting right here waiting for him to come to our house with home field advantage the entire playoff. How amazing would that be? Um, there, fine. But the ground and pound did this to the Vikings, as I predicted it would. The passing game was cute, but that is what we did to the Vikings with our running game. James Houston doesn't have it. It's time we play someone else. He doesn't have it. He's washed. 100%. I've been saying it. I saw it at practice. And everybody's going, "Oh, that's practice." When they're doing the drills, the one-on-one drills, because he couldn't do the team stuff, but he could do the one-on-one drills. He couldn't beat Skipper. He couldn't beat Sorsdahl. He couldn't beat Manu. He was pancaked or tossed aside like a rag doll every time. He's too upright. He doesn't have the same first step. He doesn't have the bend. Uh, there's all sorts of things wrong. He's coming into the season 20 pounds heavier than it was, which means to me he did the lightest rehab he could just to get better and to get on the field to collect a paycheck. Is my opinion. I said if you look, he bull rushed a backup third string tackle in that sack on the Steelers in game 3. And I said, I would not have him starting over Betts or Ukwu. Yeah, and I'm sitting at 10-3. We had a hell of a week this week, Dwayne. I think running the ball on the bike, showing the Vikings and their fans that we're not scared of your D line was huge. But at the same time, their D line doesn't tackle well in the run game. Go look it up on PFF. I'm shitting you not. Go look up their season stats on PFF for tackling. Their D line is the worst on their roster at tackling. It's their linebackers, Stephon Gilmore and Harrison Smith, that do most of the tackling in the running game. But Blake Cashman was their best one. Trevor Nowaski looking better and better every week, JB. I've been pounding the table on this guy for 2 seasons. I have been touting his name. I've been telling people he's not just your average Division II linebacker. He could have played Division I. He had offers. He chose to go to Saginaw Valley State because he didn't want to leave the state. He wanted to be closer to his family in Canton, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. That West Canton High School uh, state. He was on the state alternate team for all state. Ukwu is improving too. He was making some strides. The guy I never want to see on the field again is Houston. I'm going to call it like I see it. Our best tackler yesterday was Anzalone. No surprise. 7 solo tackles, 1 assisted tackle for a total of 8. Great job, Anzalone. Second best, it was Malcolm Rodriguez. 6 solo tackles, 2 assisted tackles, and a sack. Jack Campbell had 5 tackles, an assisted tackle, and a sack. Trevor Nowaski had 3 tackles, 1 assisted, and a sack. Brian Branch, 5 tackles, 1 assisted, interception, 2 pass breakups. And what I know it was a forced fumble, but it did go out of bounds. So I can't fault the call. It was right. If that ball would have left his arm before that left foot hit the sideline, it would have been a fumble all day. But because it was still touching his arm and he stepped out of bounds, that's why it was overturned. Even though the ball was out, it was still touching his body when he stepped out, which makes it automatically a dead ball. That's the letter of the rule in the NFL. May sound like a stupid rule, but it wasn't a fumble. No more than Tim Patrick was a fumble that Harrison Phillips thought he had. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not the only missed calls that I saw. There was one on our side, and I'm not mad about it. They still got a touchdown. I think that's why it wasn't even talked about. That was when Amik Robertson. This is why uh, Justin Jefferson pushed off, Amik Robertson had a hold of his shoulder. I don't know if you guys saw that. He just had a piece of that shoulder jersey. So Justin Jefferson, they allowed him to push off. It would have been offsetting penalties, which would have been redo the down, but the fact it was a touchdown, they didn't say anything. But Amik Robertson did it first. So they kind of let that play out as though they were jockeying for position, and I get it. Um, Most of our penalties came on the O line, false starts, namely Coyote Awasika. We had one false start that I didn't see it, and that was when we were getting ready to go for it on a fourth down that we ended up punting out of, and I'm glad we did because if we didn't get it, that would have changed the complexion of the game. And Jack Fox did an amazing job of pinning the guy deep. So kudos to Jack Fox. He averaged over 51 yards per punt and a net average of 42.8 for the game, which shouldn't really change his 43.1 on the season. It might make it take it down to a 43. But yes, all roads go through Detroit. But I literally said Blake Cashman being out was going to hurt this defense because he was their best tackling run defender. I haven't seen Cody. Tim, what a great win. I just went over my studs and duds. I had 9 studs and 3 duds. Dud number 3 was David Montgomery because of the fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Coyote Awasika, with all the penalties he had, was my dud number 2. And my number 1 dud was James frickin' Houston. God, he's awful. Put that bum on the practice squad. And Pat Rothwell, I'm just the opposite. That's something that he's done 5 times in the last 2 seasons total, and he's made 3 of them. So we applaud it when he gets it and say how gutsy. Yeah, the motion did alert the defense 100%. I think they should have had JRM a little closer to the punter and just hiked it a little to the side like they did the other time, which caught the defense by surprise. When they motioned him away from the end that side, it was a dead giveaway. It's a tell. I get it, but what an amazing James Houston did not account for one single stat on the stat sheet at all, and he played 8 snaps. And him getting washed out on that play by the tackle is the reason why it made Terrion Arnold not setting the edge so glaring. I want to repeat this. It may be terrible timing, but I'd rather do it at 0-0 at the beginning of the game than later in the game where it could swing the momentum the other way. James Houston was pancaked before he got one step past the offensive line. If it was the James Houston that we saw in his rookie year, he would have bent underneath that because that guy just pushed him up from his shoulders because he was so upright. I mean, even the announcer said going for it at 0-0 and early in a game doesn't hurt you as much as if you did it late in the game. Okay, yeah, I agree to disagree with you. I'm just saying I understand the mentality of it. Remember, he did it versus Kansas City Chiefs and it worked, and it was brilliant when it worked. And I said I don't want to talk trades at all. I'm done with talking about trades right now. I'm talking about this game. I was not going into that because I don't think we're making any big moves. I've told you guys this. And the fact we won probably will back it up. I think we're going to go for one of those second tier guys that you can get for a third, fourth, or fifth, or sixth rounder. And I've said this for weeks. And I said it all depended if we beat Minnesota or not. And I did say by scheme, we would have more linebacker sacks than we would D line sacks because the space eaters in the front did their job as far as that. But where they failed to do is they didn't stunt and confuse Ed Ingram at all between Reeder and McNeil. If they'd have stunted him, Reeder or McNeil, and switching them off side to side and keep doing that, we'd have had pressure for days. But for some reason, they did not attack Ed Ingram in the center. And that center has been bad. They called it out at the beginning of the game before it even started. He goes, I want to see about this center and right guard that's given up a total of 25 pressures and 8 sacks this season. So we didn't exploit that at all. And that was disappointing to me. Both of them made some key stops up the middle in the run game, which is all fine and dandy, but I wanted to see the pressure on Darnold come from the interior, not from the linebacker, because that's what I expected to see. Kudos to Josh Pascal for getting a sack, Jack Campbell, Trevor Nowatzki, and Malcolm Rodriguez. That was our sacks, guys. 3 linebackers, 1 lineman. But we did have 12 pressures in the game. I just think the motion was that made it the terrible play. 100%, I agree with that part of it. But the fact that we used it versus who was it all that it worked on? It worked against Minnesota last year. Ah, gotcha. Yeah, they did. 100%. Jared Goff, Jared Goff, Jared Goff. He's definitely, if he wasn't before, he's in the MVP conversation now. You realize we've had more offensive touchdowns than we've had incompletions this season in this 4-game stretch from Jared Goff? Think about that. Offensively, we put up 18 touchdowns. We've only had 16 incompletions through 4 games. That's amazing. Well, it's a short week. They got to go to the Rams, and rumor is Puka and Cup might be on the field for the Rams this week. If that happens with the way that secondary was getting torched yesterday, and you can say that they weren't torched by everybody, but they were torched. They've got a good running back in Kyron Williams. He's kind of like Gibbs with his speed. If they can do what we did, because Blake Cashman's probably out another week with that turf toe. Even though they need him, they're probably going to have to sign a linebacker off the street or trade for somebody because they're going to be missing Cashman for possibly 3 to 4 weeks. Turf toe lingers. We've seen it. We've seen turf toe keep Frank Ragnow out sacked 6 weeks. So it is what it is. Turf toe's awful. But the fact it didn't show up till after their bye week, how hard were they running them at practice to prepare for us? That tells you a lot. They had a lot of people banged up this week prior that just got healed up in time. Harrison Phillips, Patrick Jones. They weren't out there, and Harrison Phillips was the one that was out there all game, but Patrick Jones was in and out of that lineup quicker than you could have an old OnlyFans girl go down for $20. It made a huge difference. I'm saying if Blake Cashman was in, I still think Gibbs would have got that 1 touchdown. Oh, 100%. And the only time he had an incompletion while being pressured, it wasn't because he was sacked. It's because the guy got his hand up. They were doing 0 blitz screens a lot, and that doesn't work versus golf. I've said this. I said, man, if they go blitz heavy like they do, and they are one of the most blitzing teams in the NFL, I said we were going to have to blitz at least 30%, and we did. Think about it. We had 12 pressures and 4 sacks. That's 16 times you're in the quarterback space total. They only ran, what was it, 56 plays? Am I right on that? No, they ran 52 plays. So let's see what the percentage is on that. I got to look it up. Holy crap. Did you see Tennessee get 12 and a hook for Sunday? Damn, that's a lot of points. Yeah. Um, Remember I said we were going to have to blitz with our linebackers about 30% of the time we were going to have to be blitzing? That's exactly 30.76%. So by scheme, we did exactly what I thought we'd do to replace the pressures. I mean, yeah, Darnold had a lot of time, but guess what? They were still getting there and they manipulated it. He threw a pick in the first half. The second half, we had a lull where they were eating us up because the defense was getting on the field a long time. We weren't sustaining drives there at first because they were quick hitters. You know what I'm saying? We weren't on the field long. The Gibbs had that 46-yard touchdown. But then we had the 35-yard touchdown to Amon Ra. You know, even though it's great to score, it's not always great to score fast. Do you get what I'm saying there? Not when the other team's matching you and taking time off the clock because that's wearing your defense out. We should have. I wanted to run the ball more that second half. I mean, we ran it enough. Granted, we won the game. Yeah. So there might be a fire sale starting with the Patriots and the Titans, and that's who I'd be going for to send my day three pick for somebody. Harold Landry is 17.5 million, and he's got 2 years left on his contract. You could probably get him for a day three pick, probably fourth or fifth rounder. Josh Uche from the Patriots, you could probably get him for a fifth or sixth rounder. Bryce Huff, because they're not letting him play there because he doesn't get along with Vic Fangio, is the rumors I'm hearing. Since they're not letting him play and he's fully healthy, uh, that's another defensive end slash linebacker because of his size. He's like 6'4", 265. Um, I wouldn't mind trading for him for a day three pick. I think Ukwu did better than the week before, and he made some key run stops. But at the same time, he needs to get better at the pressure. Uh, I want to see more of what we saw versus the Steelers and Chiefs starting O line, but I didn't get to see that much of him. He was in for limited snaps, but he did all right. Levi Onwuzurike, it was nice to see him out there, and he was manipulating the tackles when he was in. Josh Pascal getting a sack was huge, but that's because they were focusing on Uku on the other side at the time. So yes, he had a good game. People can say I don't know football, but I said we were going to scheme it up and have more pressure due to blitzes. Uh, it's how we have to do it until we find somebody. And I'm not saying Brad Holmes isn't going to go out and get somebody. I mean, heck, I don't even think we saw Isaiah Thomas on the field. I don't remember him. I never saw his name called. But yeah, I mean, those are my stars of the game. I almost want to give an honorable mention to Terry Arnold because he didn't have one penalty called against him again for a second game in a row. I watched a lot of Alabama. I love Brian Branch coming out of the draft. He is one of the best safeties in the league already. He is awesome, 100%. He's playing at a Pro Bowl slash All Pro level right now. He's always second, third, or fourth. Oh, this team is all about next person right in front of you. They don't focus on anyone else. So I expect us to mollywop type Tennessee. Uchi is a good grit guy, but I'm curious why they're giving Uku so many snaps. Uh, Let me look at the snap counts on defense. Probably because Houston's washed. Okay. Josh Pascal and Isaac Ukula earned the starting roles. He had 34. Levi on Wuzariki had 26. Uh, Pat O'Connor had 12. Mikai Wingo had 11. And Houston had, God, I didn't even realize he was on there for 9 reps. I thought it was only 6. Defense featured 5 Ironmen who played all 60 defensive reps. That was Kirby, Joseph, Brian Branch, Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, and Alex Anzalone. Nowaski having a sack in 14 snaps. He's having that Houston type of effect out of the Sam linebacker position. And Jalen Reeves-Maben also played 10, and that doesn't count the abysmal fake punt in the first quarter. Other than that, the offensive line, including fill-in right guard Coyote Awasika, played all 57 snaps. Detroit did not use an extra lineman at any point in this game. The running The running back snap split 33 for Jameer Gibbs, 22 for David Montgomery, and 2 for Craig Reynolds. Rookies Ennis Rakestraw and Sion Vaki only appeared on special teams. Shane Zylstra elevated from the practice squad in favor of healthy scratch. Parker Hess played 3 offensive snaps, 21, and 21 of a possible 31 special teams reps. So I think they did enough to mitigate a pressure situation. Branch was my favorite pick of the draft. Oh, mine, he was mine too. Don't get me wrong. I thought we were picking Branch at 18. 100%. That's what I thought in my head. But when we were able to trade up and get him at 45 with the Packers, I was like, fuck yes. What a gritty American amazing win. So this week, do we start from the bottom or do we start from the top? Because it's sponsor time, boys. Let me know. I say we start from the top. Screw it. In first place, with a 5-1 record atop the NFC North and all of the NFC, it is the mighty, mighty Lions. In second place, at 5-1 with a one win, one divisional loss record in the division, it is they can get skull fucked. In third place, at 5-2, fuck the Packers. And in last place due to the bye week, and at 4-2, we have fuck the Bears. Yes, fuck them all. 100%, Davy. What a great game. It was so gritty. This game was the epitome of grit. And last but not least, I have to talk about the sponsor that pays me, the one that pays the bills, the one that makes it so I can afford this restream. It's Brandon Service, right at the corner of South Grand Traverse and West Atherton Road, 602 West Atherton Road. In Flint, where the water's shit, but the tires are good. Used tires starting at $45 and up. New tires, call to get your quote 810-233-8230. Talk to George or Red because I am sidelined and on the injury report with a pinched nerve. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming in here and making this a well watched and a lesser known podcast, really. I'm starting to get some more people from outside of our organization as fans. You know, more people like the Vikings, the Bears fans, and I appreciate every single one of you. The Packers fans that come in here. It used to be Scuba Steve from the Packer fans, but I haven't seen him come into our chat for a while. I want to say congratulations to the Packers because that was a gritty win. Their new kicker, Brandon McManus, kicks the game winner to beat the Texans. They they were beating the bricks out of CJ Stroud. Don't get me wrong. I love CJ Stroud, but they held him to 80 yards. That defense is coming into their own. Yes, uh, Deshaun Watson is out with an Achilles tear or rupture. But at the same time, you got to give your kudos where kudos is due. Kudos to the Vikings for giving a valiant effort and making us earn every fucking point because we did. We earned every point on that field. And kudos to the Packers on beating the Texans. I'm trying to erase the hate, boys. Fuck them all. When we play them, it's fuck them. But I'm trying to live by what I say every day. And I'm going to say it right now before I sign off. Try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. That's the only way to make the world a better place. It starts right here. Let's see if the Lions' hangover effect continues when the Vikings go to play the Rams. Because if they've got Puka Nakua and good old Cooper Cup back, they might be giving them a handful. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy your day. And before I go, forward down the field, a charging team that will not yield. And when the blue and silver wave, stand and cheer the brave. Rock, rock, rock. Go hard, win this game. With honor, you will keep your fame. Down the field and gain a Lions victory. Go.